This is the Gen Y Leaders Podcast. Welcome to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast, where we guide millennials to become the next generation of business leaders and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Eric Huey, and multiple times a month, we bring you interviews from high-performing millennials who are challenging perceptions and changing expectations of our generation. Our mission is to help you overcome fear, take action, and go confidently in the direction of your dreams. It's time to start preparing now, mainly because 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day, which will create a vacuum of career opportunities that you've been waiting for. Will you be ready? Amos, welcome to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me today, Eric. I'm pretty excited to talk to you. Been thinking about it for a while. Was it like a month and a half ago or something that we talked the first time?
Yeah, it's been a while in the making.
Yeah, I was glad Matt introduced us.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Matt Honeycutt, previous podcast guest. So appreciate the introduction there.
I didn't know he was on the show. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was back in the. He was one of the OGs, I guess, if you call it that. He was on like episode 4 or 5, I think. And so, yeah, we're in like 65 now.
Congratulations. That's a long run.
Thanks. Yeah. I understand you got a couple podcasts going, so look forward to talking about that. But yeah, if you could just start off at a high level and tell people who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Amos King. I'm the CEO and founder of Binary Noggin. We build custom software solutions for people all over the world, from two-person startups to top 5 largest companies in the world. We've had it all, done it all. Very small shop, and we love to get in there and work really closely with our customers.
And how did you get into development in general, software, apps, all the things you're doing?
I wrote software when I was in junior high on calculators, like video games on calculators, and sold them. Off. Yeah. I guess the first software I ever wrote was actually on a Windows PC, probably 91 or 92. I accidentally ran into a program called QBasic that had the documentation all built into it. Yeah, for the programming language. And I just sat and read all of the documentation and thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to build the next artificial intelligence. Like, I thought I was going to be awesome. And then I learned how to draw pictures on the screen with it. And that was about as far as it went. And then I never really thought about software as a career. I wanted to be a trauma surgeon. And did one semester between my junior and senior of high school, learning about that, and decided that there's too much, I'm going to put this drama in that, like in having to tell people bad news. And I didn't think I would be able to do that very well.
Yeah, a lot of emotional weight.
Yeah. So then I, with very quickly made a career turn and was like, at some point was like, why don't I just go be a programmer? I mean, it's my hobby. It's what I really like to do. And I don't know, it being my hobby, I think really helped me because I pour myself into it. I don't know if I'm ever not working in some capacity or another, just because in my free time, unless somebody really pushes a book at me or something, I am probably reading a programming book or programming something or just tinkering. So,
yeah. Well, I admire you for doing that. I don't think most people have the patience to sit down and be able to read something like that. But I guess if your business depends on it, then that's the motivation there, huh?
Some of those books can be really fun and they're lighthearted and written as more of a story. But yeah, some of them are just hardcore technical manuals that there's nothing exciting.
Well, interesting point you mentioned is, really starting young with this and it being your main passion. I know a lot of people pivot away from things that they're passionate about in general, but especially things that they're doing when they're young, because simply that they just get burnt out. So I guess to simply put it, how do you avoid getting burnt out, and what keeps you going? Why stay in this field?
At some point in time, I think that you have to change direction a little bit on what drives you to stay in that field. And originally, my direction was self-discovery, learning, making things. Like back in the day, if you were an engineer, it's a little better now with 3D printers, but I thought about being an engineer too. Like you would design something and then send those designs off, and months later you would get back a prototype, and then you would say, oh, I wish I'd changed this. And you'd send it off, and a month later you get back a prototype. But software was immediate. Like I could get feedback immediate, and that feedback loop drove me for a really long time. And then at some point it became about delighting people, delighting users, delighting the people who wanted the software built, delighting the people that I work with, the other software developers, and making them excited about their job. That became a real driving force for me. And yes, I still like to program and still like to push those things forward, but a lot of that happens because I want to see other people smile. I want to help other people.
That's really cool. It's good to know that you have that type of passion underneath it all that really drives it forward. So you mentioned, all the different size of companies that you worked with and kind of the scale, I guess. So what's been one of maybe the favorite companies you worked with, or maybe one of your favorite projects, if you can mention it?
Does it have to be at my company? Okay. So I am going to say this one from an old company that I used to work for. We did consulting like I do, and I wrote secure chat software for the Navy.
Oh, wow.
And I got to ride on a nuclear submarine for 3 weeks.
Oh my
God. That was super cool.
That's amazing.
Although after 3 weeks, even though I'm ginger and avoiding sunlight is just part of who I am, after 3 weeks of being under the water, I wanted nothing more than a sunburn. It just get me up in the sun. Anyway, as far as our company goes, we have had some really great customers, and every one of them has their own reason why I loved working with them. So it's hard to pick just one. I think one that I talk about a lot is working with Toyota, because it was really different to be brought into a large company and get put with. I worked with a fantastic team that all wanted to get better and push what they were doing and be better. And those kind of people are really motivating to work with. Anytime you're working with somebody who wants to get better, it's pretty awesome how much better they will make you in return.
Yeah.
So I really like that kind of interaction. And then recently worked with a company out of St. Louis called No Inc, KNOWINK. And I don't know if you voted in person during the last election, but if you did, anybody out there, and you went to the polls and they scanned your ID with like an iPad, probably had some green and black on it. That was the system that we worked on and helped them get through the election with. And it's really satisfying to be a part of something that's that big, and not counting votes. Didn't do that. Didn't count votes. Don't yell at me. On either side, don't yell at me.
The safe place.
That's right. We just check people in and tried to streamline that process. And then I actually got to go use it when I voted. And so that's really cool, knowing that you work on something that it's possible that everybody you meet has touched that thing, where a lot of the stuff that we work on is either hidden, you can't see it, like it's running in a vehicle, it's running somewhere where you don't even know that you're using it.
Yeah.
Or it's something that is like a very niche market that you might run into somebody that's used it, but maybe not. Yeah.
That's amazing to see it come full circle. You mentioned a couple different statuses of companies or organizations. So you mentioned being in the Navy in a previous organization. You mentioned Toyota. You mentioned this involvement with the election and the polls. These are pretty noteworthy clients. How do you go about recruiting business and getting your name out there and winning these projects?
I started out before I ever started my own company. going to meetups and things like that and putting myself out there, speaking, talking, running the meetups, even though like maybe I didn't feel that qualified to speak, encouraging other people to speak, helping them grow. And so that's how it started, was those people that I had an impact on in some way or another. I guess I'm going to say it's an impact because they came back and said, hey,
always a good sign.
Right. Their company might be looking for somebody to help out for a while. And they would say, hey, I'd really like to work with Amos. And, I think any good manager, if you have a group working underneath you and you say, we need to get some extra help for a little while, and that group is telling you a specific name, that's probably who you're going to go hire. Like there's nothing stronger. If you hire somebody else, they're probably going to be like, well, why did we do that?
Right.
So that helped. And then when I'm there, just, doing the best you can. And, you want your customers to be excited and want to refer you by the time you leave. From day one to day last, you need to be going full steam, working your hardest, and just being personal. I think that helps a lot. And doing the podcast helps, right? Like putting your name out there, which I didn't start podcasting in order to get my name out there. I started podcasting because there were ideas that I was talking about, and my podcasts are very loose. There's no pre-planned anything most of the time. It's just conversations with friends that have the same ideas and thoughts, same passions, but maybe different ideas. And we just discuss them. And I thought, if somebody gets something out of this, great. If they don't, great, moving on. But people did. And so that has had a major impact on people coming in.
Definitely. Do you want to plug the show real quick?
Oh, sure. So I had 2 shows. One of them I'm going to plug, even though we did it for 7 years. So there's a lot of stuff we don't do it anymore. I'm going to plug it because if you're not a developer, but you manage teams, it's probably also good. We talk about managing teams and projects and working together. It's called This Agile Life.
Okay.
And then the other one that I have is more software focused only, about a specific programming language called Elixir, and it's Elixir Outlaws. We've been doing that we just had 3 years the other day. So
very cool. That's a great run. You're ahead of us. So got to follow in your footsteps, hopefully.
Well, bring it. Let's do it.
What's Elixir? Can you explain a little bit more about that for people who are not familiar?
Elixir is a programming language built on top of a language that's been around since, I believe, 1984. There's another language called Erlang, and Erlang was built by Ericsson for their phone systems, and to be highly resilient to problems in the software, because when somebody's on the phone with 911 and there's an error in the system on somebody else's phone call, you don't want to cut the 911 call off, and you can't update the software you don't want to have to take the software down to update it. So there's a lot of things built in around failure handling and network systems. And the thing is, back in 1984, there was, telecom was the only network system. Nowadays, everything that we have is networked. Our phones, our computers, most of the software we use talks to other pieces of software. Yes. So although it was built in 1984, it's almost like it was purpose built for today. And then Elixir is built on top of that, which gives a little bit of tooling, and some people consider it a nicer syntax. So it's a little easier to read for developers of a lot of mainstream languages.
Gotcha.
And it's fun. It's fast and fun. That's what I like about it.
Yeah. So a lot of people out there who, unlike yourself, maybe be pivoting within their industry, or maybe pivoting to a whole different career. It seems like as technology just progresses and grows exponentially, that there's more and more opportunities for people to get into programming and development. So I guess first off, would you encourage people to go a traditional educational route, or go non-traditional with like being self-taught and things like that if they were to get into it? And then secondly, is the space crowded as it grows? What are your thoughts on that? Is there opportunity for people to get in at the ground level?
Okay, so first question, yes. Either one of those routes. It really depends on the person and what they want to do. Some people need that traditional education structure. Um, some people and probably need some things outside of just writing software.
Yeah.
Somebody who has already had that experience in life and they're a little older, maybe they would be better off they have programming boot camps where you go for 3 months, 8 hours a day. You're probably programming 16 hours a day if you're going to do a good job. That works for some people, and some people really is like, just grab a book, dig around on the internet. And I think the biggest thing, no matter what of those you do, is find a project. Don't just go read a book and try to follow along with the example. Find a project that you want to build, and then figure out how to solve those problems as they come up and go and grow. And get involved in communities, meetup groups, things like that. Those people will help you out and push you, not only to be a better developer, but it will get you talking and thinking about teamwork. And who knows, maybe one day you start your own company and those people call you and say, hey, I want you to come work for me for a while.
Yeah.
But I think it also depends on what you want to do with it. Like, some stuff in programming gets very deep into math, depending on what you want to do. Like, not all development is that way. And if you want to get into really deep linear algebra, giant equations, machine learning, AI, sometimes a passion for that doesn't necessarily lead to a passion for math, and you need somebody to push you and help you find the corners. So sometimes the traditional education is the way to go.
Definitely. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, and then the second part was, is the space saturated, if you will?
Absolutely not. I think the last thing I read was there was only enough developers to fill 70% of the jobs.
Wow.
Which keeps salaries high. That's kind of nice.
Job security.
yeah. And the other thing is, people don't, there's this weird side effect. And I think this happens with any business, really, is the more that it costs to hire you, the less people want to waste your time. That's a little bit of a side tangent there, but yeah, the market is wide open. Like, people can get jobs easily. That's why all these boot camps are out there. They're able to make money because they're able to put people in jobs. And they, as soon as that can't happen, those boot camps will start closing. So as long as you see those around, there are jobs in software, lots of them.
What advice do you have to other current entrepreneurs, or maybe aspiring entrepreneurs who want to start their own business? Anything at a high level that comes to mind?
Hire an accountant. That's, I thought I was going to do it myself and just hand off my taxes at the end of the year and move on. Taxes get complicated when you have an LLC or an S corp thing. They, should I pay myself? Oh, wait, what happens if my business has a really good year that we didn't plan for? Like, I've had, so when you're paying taxes, you have to pay, when you're a business, you have to pay quarterly sometimes. And if you have a really good year at the end of the year, like, a lot of people, when they go out into business, they're used to getting some kind of refund, a small amount, or maybe just paying a very tiny amount, but they're used to getting a refund for the most part. And you start a business, and then suddenly it's more successful than you expected. You haven't paid enough on your quarterly taxes. At the end of the year, you get a bill from the IRS for 60 grand. And you're like, wait, what do I do now? And so save your money. That's my other one. Save about a third of all money that comes in for taxes. That has saved me a lot. I've run the whole business on cash only, never taken a loan. And being able to make sure that I save that money and grow slowly is good. I mean, if you're wanting to do some kind of startup where you have to have a manufacturing line and stuff like that, you probably don't have the $40 million sitting around to build a factory. So you're going to have to take some investors and loans, but if you can, don't. And hire an accountant.
Yeah. Great advice. Looking, I guess, again, more at the scope of entrepreneurship or the lens of entrepreneurship, what books or resources would you recommend to others who are wanting to go route of starting a business?
So I just read recently, actually, and it's not really business, but it's called Atomic Habits.
Okay.
And that book from chapter 1 had things that were actionable. Many of the self-help books and the business books that I read, they give you some high level stuff that's not like, you're like, okay, but how do I do that? Or you just leave the book feeling like, yay, I'm gonna go out and be super successful, but I don't know why.
Theory.
Right. And this one actually just had things that you could put in place daily that would help you move forward.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that book was fantastic. I would go read that.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we'll link to it in the show notes for anyone who's listening or watching and wants to get a link to that. Lastly, Amos, where can people get a hold of you if they want business or personal advice?
Yeah, for me directly, you can email me at Amos, AMOS, at binary, BINARY, noggin, NOGGIN.com, or you can go to binarynoggin.com to learn more about us. And we also often put up blog posts about Elixir programming in general, Elixir building teams. We have not just technical blogs on there, but some things about teamwork and working together too. So
awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll link to all your contact information in the show notes as well for anyone who's listening. Amos, thanks so much for your time. A lot of key takeaways from this, and good luck to you in growing your business.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks for having me, and good luck in continuing this awesome podcast that you have.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. That wraps up today's episode. We hope to have brought you some valuable key takeaways. Most importantly, whatever you learned, take action on it. Apply it to your life. Apply it to your career. Motivation and inspiration only come as a result of taking that first step. So if you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe on whichever platform you found the show. You can also follow us on all the major social media platforms or contact us directly at genwhyleaders@gmail.com. That's GENWHY leaders@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Eric Huey, and thanks for listening to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast.